what we'd like to make somebody here very, very uncomfortable if we could. Dan Robeson, you come up here, please.
What'd you get for being late? Yeah. Well, this is
your punishment for being late.
Yeah, I certainly showed up.
We also know the history of the Robeson family here, and I just found out recently that Dan was not in the Civil War, but he had a great-grandfather who was a colonel, F.O. Hickson, right?
Yeah, F.A.
F.A. Hickson. I worked with Dan. I haven't been president as long as Paul Mitchell's been president, but I'm getting very close. But it's been a great relationship. I've enjoyed it, and to me, it's like I used to read a lot of James Mitchell books because I like to start at ground zero, big bang, and go forward. In one of his books, he talks about the plow. He said it took 10,000 years to develop the plow, but it took 20,000 years to come up with the idea that you needed a plow. And so Dan's had some great ideas. I've done some of the grunt work, but we've had a great relationship. And I sometimes say, had I met him 40 years ago, two things could have happened. One, I'd have been a general, or I'd been kicked out of the Marine Corps. One of those things would have happened. But I know that for the last 10 years, 12 years, that I'm a better person for having known and been around him. He's been a great influence upon me and many others. And we'd like to take a little moment here to honor him. I think we're going to start with the county. Glenn.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
It ain't over, buddy.
On behalf of the County History Department,
Oh, wow.
I'd like to present you with the Certificate of Appreciation
Thank
for
you.
14 years of service to the people of the town of Middlesex and Yates County.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And even though the bicentennial is over, there's a coin
Okay.
designed by Sheriff Ron Spike. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Ron is really a friend.
Amazing.
I knew his dad, too. His dad was really a terrific guy, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for your service to the town and the county.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And go Bills.
Dave Adam, our town supervisor.
So, I thought about what will I talk about with Uncle Dan. And Elaine said to me today when we came in, Wynn looked up and somebody else looked up and said, "Where's Uncle Dan?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So that's what I called you. And she asked me, Elaine said, "Is that really your uncle, is he?" And I'm like, "No, he's one of those second cousin thirds. It's kind of like the mother's, sister's, whatever, the father of the something." So I don't know, because I don't do that second cousin, third cousin thing. But historically, we go back to when I was a kid. Dan's kids, I was the oldest of all of the siblings. Dan's kids, Dan's sister Mary Ellen's kids, and some other families down at the cottages. And they all called my parents Uncle Mel and Aunt Carol, and we just reciprocated back to the Robeson Canova group. And earlier this year, Dan talked about this job being the best job ever. And he gave a little bit of his story of his youth. And I've always said I had a wonderful upbringing in Pine Valley because I had my grandmother at the store and I had my Uncle Walt that I helped on the farm, and described how I was raised. And sitting there that night at the board meeting listening to Dan talking about coming from New York City area where he was a child but spending his summers in Pine Valley with the same summer memories of working on the farm with the same Uncle Walt. And so my point of saying to everybody is, I don't think my saying my second cousin, third cousin, whatever it is, shows the respect and the love that I have for you and the mentorship. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you've done for the town and all of those ideas that you've given Win, because Lord knows he needs somebody to give him ideas. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
I have a,
Oh, oh yeah.
so I've got a plaque made, presented to Dan Robeson, Town Historian, January 1st, 2010 to December 31st, 2023, although he's still working, in appreciation of your dedication and outstanding years of service to the people in your community, Town of Middlesex.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this.
That ain't over.
This is a real surprise to me.
Okay. This is from the Middlesex Heritage Group. We'll be able to tell very quickly. We have,
All right.
on the back of it, we have the Middlesex Heritage Group
Why
logo.
is it that high? I know where that came from. Thank you. Thank you. That's great.
And on the front, we have
Oh,
Middlesex Town Historian Emeritus. My one-horse town. And always quotes Ron Davis,
well,
right?
I quote Ron Davis. Ron would say, you know, Middlesex is a one-horse town, but it's my town. you know, it's terrific.
So now you have speech time.
Well, you know what, my dad there was Walter and Carol. Walter got the farm and Carol got the store, and my dad and Jack, who was the fourth, they had to go to school. So my dad went to Hobart and Jack went to Kodak. And my dad was recruited by American Can Company down in Jersey City. Was building this huge plant, a factory that had 1 million square feet, and in its prime it had 2,000 people. And my dad, at 29, was the general foreman of this plant, so he basically ran the operation. I still can't get over it. But you know, my dad, coming from Vine Valley, you know, I think that maybe, you know, what I call the city diseases, cigarettes and booze, you know, and that kind of affected him. He died at 51. I'll never forget, he was just a wonderful person. And Jack went on to Kodak, he was quite a guy. So, as far as my dad was concerned, I said, I would never do that, you know. And I was raised there in New Jersey, and you know, I had a lot of friends. New Jersey was okay, you know. But I did exactly what he did. I went to that factory with 2,000 people, and I followed that line all the way up. And along the way, I got to be a plant manager in Fairport, and then in St. Louis, a couple of factories, big factories, you know. And then eventually I ended up in Chicago. And when it got my time, 60 years old, I said, I know where I'm going. And that wasn't any of those places, you know. I knew I wanted to come right back here to Vine Valley, and because, you know, if anyone is an atheist or agnostic, I'm not here to give a religious speak, but you can't be around the lake and the beauty that we see here without thinking about a creator. And so that really hooked me, and I couldn't wait to get back here. And I've been blessed. I truly have been blessed. I've had, I had a wonderful wife who I lost 9 years ago, but you know what? I still wear the ring, and she's still in my heart, you know. And 6 children, and most of whom are good. But, you know, I really only had 2 girls and 4 boys. And my saying was that when the boys get about 15, they become insubordinate. You know? But anyway, so Ruth Clark was the one that got me interested in the history group. And I don't claim to be a real historian like Ruth was. Ruth knew everything and everybody. She was just my thoughts about Ruth were, they had this great big Ford car, and Ruth was about this tall. I used to like to stand next to her, you know. And after her husband died, there she was in this big car, and she was up in her 80s, and she had a little stool about this big with a string on it. And when she had to get back in that car, she'd reach in, pull the stool out, step up there and get in the car. And I'd look at her and say, boy, that's some guts. That is some guts. You are really an outstanding person. But she got me 2 or 3 times at Wegmans and she said, Dan, I know you haven't been involved in history, but she said, I'll be there. And you know what? She was there. She was always there with that group. And that group is great. I mean, actually when I first started, I think there were 9 women and me. And Bob Malta used to call it, he says, there goes the harem again. You know? But it was really just wonderful. It was, I mean, people were wonderful, all of them. I think of each one of them. And Bob was a really good guy. Bob and then Wayne Dunton and David, none of whom, if I ever asked for anything, it was there. Okay. So, and I got a real insight as to some of the struggles, and you know, we don't appreciate the volunteer time that is spent in some of these small towns where, you know, money is always an issue. You never have enough money. Prices are always going up, and so there, you know, I guess it gave me a real insight as to, and Middlesex is great, you know. So I'm blessed to be here, and thank you. Thank you so much. That is unbelievable.
You're finally getting the rewards you deserved.
Well, what happened, it's 12:30, and I said, you know, I'm going over there. Well, you're supposed to bring something. I made the mistake of going to Wegmans, and it was crowded. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.
Thank you.